Hello, friends. This is Sanjay Goyal. We have been thinking in HPMF for a very long time to create a series where we can share knowledge. And in fact, the HPMF was born with the objective of sharing knowledge with the fraternity and for the fraternity. In these difficult times, fortunately, we have got some time to think and reflect. Today, I'm thinking to, I've decided to speak about art of negotiations and influencing people. We do this every day at our workplace, and in fact, this is not only in procurement and supply chain, in all functions, people engage in some kind of discussions and negotiations. But when I started thinking about how to speak, what to speak, I realized let me do some bit of research. And in the process, I had the opportunity to go through some very good quality documents from best of the business schools like Harvard, Cornell, London Business School, and INSEAD. One of the things, a very basic, simple definition of negotiation is the process of discussion through which various stakeholders mutually agree for positive outcome. So basically, there are different stakeholders. There is a positive outcome, and that is the whole process which we call negotiations. So one of the important key essence of negotiation is that it must create value. When I say value, it should bring value to the business. It should bring value for both the parties or multiple parties engaged in the discussions or negotiations. One of the common thread which I could find out of the research and study from all these institutes is the fundamental thing is to prepare, prepare, and prepare. That means that before we get into some discussions and negotiations, there should be a solid groundwork. It should not that we just walk into the discussion and start negotiations. So there should be some detailing about numbers, probably spend management, probably we should know about the market intelligence, probably product knowledge, probably more information about the market, and also probably about the alternative competitive products or competitive partners available. So that detailing and that information available and to study and internalize that is very, very important to set the game plan for the healthy and positive negotiations. So preparation and solid preparation is one of the very, very basic fundamental thing for a good and solid negotiations. Another point which came out during the various kind of studies is that normally a buyer has got an ego, so we should leave our egos behind. We should work in a very, very flexible environment, and that is very important. One of the things which came out very nicely is that we should lighten up the mood. It should not happen in a very, very serious and very, very kind of sad mood. So one should lighten up the mood. The atmosphere should be such that both the parties or multiple parties are enjoying the whole process of discussions and negotiations. Next point is in the negotiation there are multiple parties, multiple stakeholders. What is important is that we should be a very good listener. So we should speak less and we should listen more. That is very important so that we are able to grasp the body language of the other partners. We are able to get the desired information about the market or the product or the intention of the other stakeholders. So it's very important that we speak less and we listen more. A lot of things, a lot of time I see that people try to rush up the negotiations. I normally try to fix up a time. I always try that I keep myself free half an hour before and after the discussions. And what is important is the patience. Patience plays a very, very important role. We should never ever rush the negotiations. We should never try to go for a quick deal because that is not the right approach to discussions and negotiations. In one of the paper, I read that which was very interesting. I really liked it, which said, "Never ever ever agree on the first offer." Any other partner who is come to discuss and negotiate, they don't open their cards in their first discussion. So it's very important that you should never agree for the first offer. And likewise, similarly, a buyer should never ever make a first offer. We should allow the seller to make the first offer, number one, and we should never ever agree or accept the first offer. So that process, that's why if we link it nicely with the earlier point, the patience, the more we engage in the discussion, more we engage in the process of talking and listening, the outcome will be much better. Another very important thing which I realized and which I found in one of the Cornell paper was something is that we should be very candid. That our discussions should be very principled. That it should be based on certain rational. When I say rational means logic. So we cannot be making a blind statement, or we cannot be making something which is not right price or right term. So the discussion should happen, negotiation should happen around principle and rational approach. It should not be one-sided. We cannot quote for something 10 rupees for something which is worth 100 rupees. So that is not the right approach. So it should be based on complete trust, ethics, and integrity. These three are very important bases around which we should stitch our discussions and engagement of negotiations with the partners. Another very important, and which is very simple most of the time, when we are talking and engaging in discussion, it's very important that we maintain the eye contact. Eye contact is very important to understand the body language of the other partner, how aggressive they are, how defensive they are, how needy they are for the business, how hungry they are in the business. So that's very important, that how we connect with the all the stakeholders who are involved in the negotiations. And before I end, what is more important is, at the end of the day, it should not be win-lose, or it should not be lose-win. It should be, at the end of the day, win-win. And that is how one has to understand that only negotiating a good deal is not only important. What is also important is that we also take care of that relationship. It should not happen that we win a deal but we lose that relationship. So at the end of the day, how we articulate our discussion and engagement is very important, that it should end into a win-win kind of a situation where all the stakeholders carry something back home. They carry some certain value for their respective business and organizations. In terms of this discussion on negotiation skills, probably in the second series, probably I will continue on influencing people, because both the topics are very interconnected. But that's a new insight I got during my study in last couple of days, that negotiations only does not happen between two individuals and two corporations. There's a much bigger negotiations happen between the countries. So their negotiation is more about the process of influencing people. So we'll cover that in the probably second series when I get the time. Before I end, I have a beautiful quote which I thought I must share, and which is very relevant for the topic and for the moment, is: let us never negotiate out of fear. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. This is something very important. This is one of my favorite quote. I had taken note of it a couple of years back, and while I was digging out my literature, I could find this again. It was by the former US President John F. Kennedy. So it says that we should not be fearful in terms of getting into a negotiation. Your body language should be positive. You should be very confident about the whole process, that you are going to be winning it over, and you are, at the end of the day, will be bringing value to the table. This is all from my side, and I will also be sharing my notes which I have taken. Probably some of the points I may not have touched. Maybe you are very useful for all of you. And something very interesting I have captured in my notes, which you may like it, is that from each of the institute I have captured one word which is very meaningful, and which connects with the process of art of negotiations in various business schools. Probably that may help you to probably reflect and insight. Please do share your thoughts and your feedback about this process of learning. And in case any of you would want to contact with me, please feel free to contact me. Thank you so much. Stay connected. And at the end of the day, I would like to mention my favorite line: our network is our net worth. So keep sharing knowledge, staying together, and in these testing times. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much.